Okay, so Be'ezer Hashem, Daf Yud Gimel. So we saw Machlekes in the Mishnah. If we give him another wife, we prepare him another wife. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, we do. According to Chachamim, not. So the Gemara asks, according to Chachamim, they also worried. They prepare a different kohen. So you see, they're worried. Wah, Shalom Aleichem. So the Gemara says, Amar lecha Rabban and Chachamim will tell you, Daf Yud Gimel. Because Yud Gimel is Friday, right? And Yudal Shabbos. And Tesvav today. Okay. Nachon or not nachon? Yud Gimel Shabbos is Daf? But we did Yud Beis already twice. Okay. We'll start Yud Gimel. It's Yud Gimel we also did once, I think. Okay. So the Gemara says, according to Chachamim are Choshesh Teshema. So the Gemara says Tuma is common, Misa is not common, so therefore we prepare Machli for Tuma, but we don't prepare for Misa. So Chachamim told Rabbi Yehuda, if you're worried for Misa, so Ein Adav al Saif. So the Gemara says it's a good Taina, but the Gemara says no. Rabbi Yehuda says we're worried that one wife will die. We're not worried that two wives will die. And Chachamim say, if you're worried for Misa, which is not common, you should worry forever. But Chachamim are worried for the different koyens. So Chachamim say, we're not really worried. We just want to make sure that the kohen will be making 100% sure that he's going to be doing things properly and not become tomei. So when we give him another kohen, a substitute, he'll make sure to stay pure. Now the Gemara goes, within Shittas Rabbi Yehuda, we have to understand. The kohen gadol needs to have a wife. It's true. But he can only have one wife. So how can you give him another wife and then he'll have only one? If you'll give him another one, he'll have two. And the Gemara goes through all the different cases that, all the different tnoim that don't work. And the Gemara conclude, here Meir, can you get me 2 cups? Not the same. Here. So the Gemara is basically saying, the Gemara is saying here, if this is his wife, okay, not this, but this will be the example, and this is the substitute. So basically, he tells the substitute like this: if this lady, the wife, won't die by the end of Yom Kippur, by the end of the Avodah, so then you're divorced. He has 2 when Yom Kippur walks in, and he gives both of them a get. Now he tells this one, the substitute, if this one is not going to die, then you're divorced. So if this one didn't die, so he still has his wife, and this one was divorced, so then he had only one wife. Now, that's what he tells this one. What does he tell his wife? He tells his wife, this is your get. If I'm going to go to the shul, if I'm going to go to the shul, so then you'll be divorced. So now like this. So that's very good. If no one died, so then she's divorced and his wife remains his wife, and they can continue until next year. Now, but what happens if he sees that his wife is going to die? So he needs to make sure that she's divorced. Why? Because what? No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't, because then she's divorced. Again, if they both live throughout the Tnai, and this one is. I was saying that we started. This one, the Tnai is the difference. This one won't die, she's divorced. So if this one doesn't die, so then you had only this one is divorced by the end of the day. But now the get on this one, that's what I'm saying. The get on this one is if I won't go into shul, then if I will go into shul, then you're divorced. So if he sees that she's going to die in the middle of the avodah, so he needs to make sure that she's divorced. So he's going to quickly go into shul, and then she's divorced, and then this one is his wife. Yeah, so it's mevar that this one wasn't his wife the whole day, and if she'll recover, they'll daven for her and she'll recover, she won't be his wife ever again because she's a gerusha, and a kohen gadol cannot marry a gerusha. So she'll be his wife until next year. Okay, at least, hopefully longer. So the Gemara says like this. Okay, everything is good?
No, I'm just thinking now.
Yeah. Very good. Okay. The Gemara says, okay, so the Gemara asks, If so, if you say that a bais, when the Torah says bais, it means one and not two. So if someone's brother died and the brother had two wives, so how can he be miyabim one of them? It's not a bais. Beiso, it says rachmana, and bais is one, not two. So the Gemara says over there's a special ribu. He says yavim to twice to be merabe, even if there's two, so you can be miyabim one of them. You can't be miyabim both, but you can take one of them as a yavama. Says the Gemara, if so, we see over here that she needs to be his wife in full. It's not enough to be an arusa. It's not enough to give her kiddushin. In order to be considered his bais, he needs to mamish marry her nisuin. So the Gemara says, if that's the case, so why by an arusa it says that we do yibum? The Torah says bais, she's not beiso. So the Gemara says by arusa, by yibum, there's an extra word hachutzo. It says lotie eishes hameis hachutzo lizar. Even the one which is hachutzo, she's not yet his wife. She's just arusa. She also needs yibum. Okay. The Gemara says now there's a very interesting bais. So the Braisa says a Kohen Gadol, regular Kohen Gadol, not talking about Yom Kippur, can bring korbanos when he's oinen, but he can't eat. Rabbi Yehuda says the whole day. So what does it mean the whole day? So Rabbi tried saying that the whole day means that if he's home, bring him to the Beis HaMikdash to work, cheer him up. He's going to do the avodah. He's going to forget about his avelus. That's what it means kol hayoim. But the Baya says, but it doesn't fit because Rabbi Yehuda is the one who's more machmir about an oinen. Rabbi Yehuda says that in oinen, if there's a brayso that speaks about, according to Rashi, it speaks about the Kohen Hediot. According to others, it speaks about the Kohen Gadol midirabanon. But the brayso says like this: if a Kohen is oimed and makriv al gabe hamizbeach, and he heard that someone died in his family, lo aleinu, so he became an oinen. So according to the Tanakh Kamo, he has to stop working immediately and leave. That's the Tanakh Kamo, which is Rabbi Yehuda, right? The Tanakh Kamo, which is Rabbi Yehuda, says he has to leave immediately. So you see, he's more machmir. Rabbi Yossi says he can finish his work. Okay. The Gemara says, so how can you say that according to Rabbi Yehuda, you're going to bring him from his home? So Rava says, kol hayoim means something else, that he cannot work the whole day. We know a Kohen Gadol could work, so that's a special gezerah. The special gezerah is we're worried he's going to come and eat from the food. But the Gemara says, but we see that Rabbi Yehuda is not goizer that the Kohen Gadol cannot work. Maybe he's going to come to eat. Why? Because it says in our Mishnah that if his wife dies, right? So he has a different wife and he continues to work. According to Chacham, you can say if his wife dies, we're going to need a substitute. But according to Rabbi Yehuda, we give him another wife. So even if he's an oinen, he's allowed to work, and I'm not worried that he's not allowed to eat. So said over there is different because since it's Yom Kippur and everyone else don't eat, so we're not choshesh that he's going to eat. So therefore, even though he's an oinen, he can eat. The Gemara says, wait a second. The question wasn't even true. He's not an oinen. Why are you asking me that this is an oinen? It's not an oinen. We said there was a t'nai. The t'nai was that if she's going to die, he's going to walk into shul and then he'll make her grusha from Erev Yom Kippur. So she's not even his wife. The Gemara says, even though Aninus is not chal, but he still has a tirda. So if there would be a place to be goizer that he's going to come and eat kachim and he's an oinen, so there should be a place to be goizer here too, because so according to Rashi explains that the point is that a kohen needs to be besimcha when he eats the kachim, otherwise he cannot eat them. The Tais Yeshanim is chaylik, and he explains the whole sugya different than Rashi, brings a different pshat. Okay. That according to him, the whole question was that he's going to come and eat on Yom Kippur. Not the Dachshash Shema is going to eat, not eat is an oinen. The question was, he's going to come to eat on Yom Kippur, and the answer is that there's no such a chashash because no one else is eating. Okay. And therefore, also the tilda, the havamina was that the tilda will cause him to eat. Okay. Now that we have a new Mishnah on Daf Yudale, the Mishnah says that the whole 7 days we put the Kohen Gadol in this quarantine in the Beis HaMikdash. So he has the halacha is that he does the avodos. He needs to prepare himself because on Yom Kippur he's the one who's going to do all the avodos. So he prepares. He does the zriko of the dam of the tamid, and he's maktir the ktoires, and he's maktir the neiros, and he's makir the rosh ve'aregel, which are the first parts of the tamid which goes on the mizbeach. And the rest of the days, it's up to him. If he wants, he's makriv. If he doesn't want, he doesn't have to. Kohen Gadol has the right to be makriv any korban he wants, and also to take a nice piece of meat first if he wants to, if he wishes. Okay. The Gemara wants to say that our Mishnah that says that the Kohen Gadol does the work in Beis HaMikdash cannot go with the opinion of Rabbi Akiva. So if he's Tameh, he cannot work in the Beis HaMikdash until he goes to the mikveh, and then he needs to wait to Arev Shemesh, and by night there's no avodah anymore. So the Gemara says, so either we're saying it's not like Rabbi Akiva, or we can say it even, Abaye says it even could work according to Rabbi Akiva, just what? He doesn't have to take the azah in the morning. He needs to take azah every day, but the azah can be at the end of work. Every day he works. By close to the end of the day, he takes the azah, he goes to the mikveh, and by night it's Arev Shemesh, and the next morning, again, it goes again. Okay, so now we just have to understand what is the machloikes here between Rabbi Akiva and Chachamim. So Rabbi Akiva says, it says in the pasuk, "Visa tor ala tomei." If the tor is maza and the tomei, it makes him tor. But if he's maza and a tor, it makes him tomei. Chachamim say, no, that comes to something totally different. That if a person gives hazor on something which is mikabel tumo, it's not poisel dashiraim. But if a person threw a hazor on something which is not mikabel tumo, so then the shiraim are possible. So for example, if a person meant to be mazeh on an odom and he mazeh on a behemo, so poisel da shiraim, because a behemo is not something which is roy lekabel tumo. But if he did it the opposite, it's okay. So Rabbi Akiva says, in Chacham to Rabbi Akiva, it doesn't make any sense what you're saying. If an atomet makes him tor, so an ator is going to make him tomes. Rabbi Akiva says, right, it makes no sense. Even Shlomo Melech says, Amarti ech kemo v'yirechoyko mimeni. I thought that I can understand everything in Torah, and I can't understand this one. And Chacham says, no, that comes to a different halacha. If a person is mazeh, or the person who spritzes the water and the person who gets spritzed is tall, but a person who touches it, not for a purpose of hazal, or a person that carries it, not for the purpose of hazal, they're both tomei. The person who carries it is more tomei because even his clothes become tomei, not just he himself. Okay. In the Adamud Beis, the Gemara says that the Kohen Gadol, it says, first it says he does ktoires, and then says he does neiros. So the Gemara says, if you look at the Mishnayos in Maseches Tamid, you'll see that it's not the order. The Mishnayos in Maseches Tamid say Dishon Mizbeach HaPnimi. The next Mishnah speaks about Dishon HaMenoiro, and then it speaks about the Ktoires. So it seems that the Ktoires comes after the Neiros. So either the Gemara wants to say that the Tana over there is a different Tana. It's Rav Shimon Ish HaMitzpah, but the Gemara says the Tana there cannot be Rav Shimon Ish HaMitzpah because other Mishnayos is not going to work with him, as we're going to see Bezrat Hashem on Daf Tesvav, exactly what's his opinion about the way you do the Zrika Saddam of the Tamid. You do a different way of Zrika, so it doesn't work with him. So the Gemara answers that no, it's the other way around. Really, Maseches Yoma is Rav Shimon Ish HaMitzpah. So what does Rav Shimon Ish HaMitzpah say about Neiros and Ktoires? How can you switch them around? So Tosfos says that they just had a Maseres, that one is Rav Shimon Ish HaMitzpah, and they weren't sure which one. If you can prove that it's, the Tamid is not, so it must be that it's Yoma. But now the Gemara asks that within Maseches Yoma we have a problem. What's the problem? In our Mishnah again, we saw that what comes first, Ktoires, and then Neiros. But if you take a look at the second perek, you'll see that it says about the Pais Hasheni. 1 second. The second perek. Second perek, right? Second perek? Yeah, it's the second perek. Okay. So at the second perek, it says that the second Pais, what do they do in the second Pais? They want to know, Mishoichet, the second Pais says who's going to do Shchito, who's going to do Mizoirek, who's going to do Zriko, does Dishon Mizbeach HaPnimi, and Dishon HaMenoiro. And then the third Pais is Chadosh and Ktoires Bo V'Afisu. So you see that first Neiros and then Ktoires. And again, they do different Payatsos because there's a din to get people move in the Beis HaMikdash, get movement. There's a din, it says in the Pasuk, Beis Elokim Nalech Berogesh, and it says that there need to be a matzev in the Beis HaMikdash. So we make a hagrola, everyone gets together, and then they spread around, and then we get them together again. So this is what they do, and you see that first comes the Neiros, and then comes the Ktoires. So the Gemara answers, there's two answers. One is on Yudalid and one is on Tesvav. The answer in Yudalid, the Gemara says that really they're both true. They're both true. The way it done is that the Torah says you do the Atova of the Neiros in two parts. First you do the 5 Neiros, you clean them, and then you clean the last 2. So you have to do something between them to separate them. So what do you do to separate them? You do Ktoires between them. So when it says Neiros before Ktoires, it means the 5 before the Ktoires. And then it says Ktoires before Neiros, it means the Ktoires before the 2 last Neiros. So everything is perfect, it's beautiful. There's no questions anymore. But the Gemara says The problem is that Abaye himself held that what separates the first 5 from the last 2 is something else. What separates them? The dam of the Tamid. And the Ketores goes afterwards. So says the Gemara, that's right, but that's the opinion of Abba Shaul. Abba Shaul, that's his opinion, that you separate them with the blood of the Tamid, and the Ketores comes after all the Neiros. But the Mishnayos here are going with the opinion of Chachamim. Okay, so what's the reason of Abba Shaul? Because it says in the pasuk "V'boiker be'tivos haneiros yaktireno." So it says first you do the atov of the neiros, and then it speaks about the aktoros. So all the neiros come before the aktores. Chachamim, what they say that what the pasuk means that when you do the atova, the aktores should be going on already, coming out. The aktores should be on the coals and taking out the smoke. So the Yoma says if not, because if not, but by night it also says not by the night, by the afternoon it says. Ben arbaim yaktireno, also be'aloi sa'arones haneiros. Also it says candles. Ben arbaim yaktireno. We're already on Daf Tesvav. So also over there, you want to tell me that he first does the ktoires, he first does the neiros and then the ktoires? That's impossible because it says by the neiros that the neiros has to be the last avodah. Nothing comes after the ktoires, the neiros. Nothing comes after the neiros. So at night, even though it says neiros and then ktoires, the ktoires is before. It's also in the morning. The ktoires can be before the neiros. And Abba Shaul says that over there you have no choice because it says oisai. But then here it doesn't say oisai, so I go with the Pashup Pshat that all the candles come before. Another thing that we learn that you have to put enough oil so it should burn the whole night. Okay, so that's the first answer to the question that we see candles before Ktoires and Ktoires before candles. Rav Papa says it's not a question because it's a machlokes. According to Chachamim, as we saw, there's the Ktoires before the last 2 neiros. But according to Abba Shaul, all the neiros come before the Ktoires. So when you see when you see in our Mishnah that the neiros the Ktoires is before the neiros, that's the opinion of Chachamim. Where you see that the neiros is before the Ktoires in second perek, that means that's the opinion of Abba Shaul. But the Gemara asks, but then you have a problem because the third perek says again that the Ktoires is before the neiros. It will come with Chachamim, Abba Shaul, and again Chachamim. So Rav Papa says yes, that's the case. So obviously Abaye doesn't like his answer because he doesn't like to say that it's Chachamim, Abba Shaul, Chachamim. And why doesn't Abaye like the answer of? Why doesn't Rav Papa like the answer of Abaye? Because he says that it doesn't go in order. Because according to you, he says, we know that it's 5, then Ktoires, then 2, right? According to Chachamim. And according to you, our Mishnah spoke about the Ktoires and then the 2. And then the second perek will speak about the first 5. It doesn't go in order. And Abaye says, we don't care about the order. The order will only start at the second perek. The Gemara is going to start talking about the order. Over here, it just speaks about the things that the Kohen Gadol is doing. And on the way, it's telling you that the Ktoros can be done before the Neiros. Okay. So it's not so easy, the Sugya. And I wish Rebelli a lot of luck for tomorrow, that everyone should. It's very easy. Baruch Hashem. Oh, okay. So, if Rebelli finds it easy, I hope everyone else finds it easy also. Okay. So, the Gemara says, should we move ahead on Tesvav or should we start doing Chazoris? What? Chazora? Chlaikes? Okay. What? Yeah, it's good to start off. Okay. So basically we saw, let's maybe finish Amud Aleph at least. And a little of Amud Beis, because just to finish the sugya. So again, we saw that Shimon Ish Mitzpah, according to Shimon Ish Mitzpah, he holds that the way you do the Hazois of the Tamid, it's different than any other Korban. And the Gemara says the reason is because it says in the Pasuk, there's a big surprise for Tamar Sugya, Rabbi Isai. This is a big surprise. So it says in the Pasuk that we read in Rosh Chodesh, Usir izim echad lechatos laHashem al oilas atomid Yosef v'niskoi. So Seir izim echad is chatos, and the chatos you put al oilas atomid. The oilas atomid is being done somewhat like a chatos. So what does it mean? That we know the mizbeach. So imagine the kevesh is over here. So we know that over here you can't do a zoh because there is no yesod in this corner. This is mizrachis, droimis, there's no yesod. So you do over here, mizrachis feinis, a regular zriko that goes on both corners. And over here, according to him, you do twice. You put one over here and one over here, like a chatos. Because a chatos you do with your finger, and you put on each side, you put with your finger 2 matonos. So the Gemara now asks, according to him, why is that how you do it? Maybe do a full thing like an oilo, do the regular spritzes on the 2 sides like an oilo, and then do again like a chatos. So the Gemara says, we didn't find such a concept that you do things twice. But the Gemara says we don't also find such a concept that you do half like this and half like this. Just the pasuk says, so you do it. So why don't you do that too? So the Gemara says that's not so weird because that's doing the same exact thing. You just separate it a little bit. You just do a pisuk matonis be'alma. But the Gemara says why? So do half down and then half up because the chatos is at the top of the mizbeach, not at the bottom. So the Gemara says that there's no such a concept. It's something that goes half up and half down. And the Gemara tried to bring some things that maybe we do see, and the Gemara says it's not. There's no such a thing. And okay, that we. Okay, so fine. So that's the end. That's the end of the sikun for this sugya. Then the Gemara starts a new sugya that starts at Tisvav, basically a lot about the building of the Beis Hamikdash and how things were built, and that will take us. That will be like the next 2 daf, let's say. Okay, so we'll leave that for Bli Neder Be'ezer Hashem tomorrow. Okay, we're done. Ma'ariv? What? 2 minutes. So Yud Gimel or again Daf Beis? Because we finished our Chazara. Yud Gimel again? We did Yud Gimel. So we start Daf Beis again. It's already the 3rd time, Baruch Hashem. Okay, so 7 days before Yom Kippur. Okay, Rabbi Yisrael, we're starting again from the beginning. Whoever missed, we're starting again. 7 days before Yom Kippur, we take a Kohen Gadol, we take him out of his house, and we bring him to Lishkas Parhedrin, and we also make him a substitute, because maybe there will be Absul, and it will push him to make sure there won't be Absul, as we saw in the Gemara. According to Rabbi Yehuda, we also prepare him another wife, and we saw in the Gemara how it's done with that 9. Shenema v'chipur bado about Beisoi is Ishtoi, and they told him, if you're worried about that, Ein Ladov Saif. The Gemara says there's also a Kohen which burns the para. We also take him out of his house 7 days before, because since there's so much, they are making a kula to make the Kohen Gadol at Tvul Yoim, so we make for him all kind of chumrois. One of them is that we make everything in kelim which can be mekabel tuma, and that's why the place he's put is called Lishkas Beis Even. And the place is that the Lishkas Beis Even is in the corner of Tzofon Mizrach, because since it's a chatos, that's why we put him in Tzofon, to remember it's like a chatos. We put him in the Mizrach because you should remember that the azor of the blood of the paro, when he's standing on Har HaMishcha, he's spritzing towards the entrance of the Heichal, and we're going to see soon how they made sure that he can see from Har HaMishcha through all the doors to the door of the Heichal. What is Biro? We saw Machlekes. According to Rish Lakish, it's the whole Beis Hamikdash. According to Rabbi Yochanan, it was a special place, what's called Biro. And the mokor is, because it says in the pasuk, Asher also by Yoma Zeh by the Miluim, Tziva Hashem La'asois Lechaper Aleichem. La'asois is Paro, and Lechaper is Yom Kippur. And the Gemara says La'asois you can't say that La'asois Lechaper means only Yom Kippur. And we're going to continue Be'ezer Hashem tomorrow. Shkoyach.